you, fuck him, and fuck her shit too. Fuck you, fuck him, and fuck her shit too.
Welcome to this week's edition of Argumentum Ad Hominem. This week we're going to be fucking with Brian Sapient and all those other chodes out of the Rational Response Squad, who are the biggest bunch of limp dick atheists I think I have ever encountered, and
probably because they're limp dick, they've gotten a lot of TV exposure. I mean, they've been out there, and they're usually called upon to answer various religionists.
so tonight we're gonna do what we've wanted to do for a long time, which is actually contact these people personally and tell them what we think about them.
That's right, because on the Rational Response website, there is a thing where basically it's a little application that calls you, and you can leave a message on Brian Sapient's fucking voicemail. So we did just that.
All right. See this? It's his face. This is what a real non-believer looks like. All right, And I don't know if you can see the screen. This is what fucking a pussy limp dick non-believer looks like. All right. And we're calling his bitch ass up right now. All right. We're in the process of navigating his poorly laid out and pretentious website to fucking call his bitch ass up and tell him, you know what? Just because you're an atheist does not make you a good person. All right. There's some Christians I'd rather, you know, converse with, be associated with even, you know, rather than these guys. Alright, so we're in the process of dialing right now. Let's see if it works.
Dexter is completing your call. This is Brian. Leave me a message and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Hello, Brian Sapient. This is Kobe Saldo and MC Graham of the New Low News Show, and we got a problem with your bitch-ass organization called the Rational Response Squad. No, I mean, really, Rational Response Squad? You couldn't think of any better shit than that? No, like, I don't believe, you know, in bullshit. I don't believe in God, but I know how to argue for it. You know, I could handle my business with great comfort. Speaking of which, you couldn't fucking handle it. You got the third law of thermodynamics wrong, and then you limp-dicked it worse than me on prom night. I mean, really. And, you know, you got a whole organization of chodes and one ugly woman, and you can't even, you know, handle any argument with a religionist without going, well, I don't think that's the way I feel about it. Here's Graham.
And what the fuck happens to be up with your, you know, fucking atheist challenge? Guess what? No one believes in the Holy Spirit. No one believes in any of that shit. We don't need to go around, you know, flouting it. And guess what? I'm gonna say it right now. I do believe in the Holy Spirit, because guess what? It means the exact same fucking thing. A whole load of fucking gibberish. You can't fucking hold this shit down. You limp dick it. It fucking cut off.
This is Brian. Leave me a message and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Hello, Brian Sapient. This is Kobe Saldo and MC Graham of the New Low News Show once again. This is message part 2. Because we have a challenge for you. Why don't you bring all your rationality to the table to fucking debate us? Call us the Irrational Response Squad. Because we're gonna, you know, whoop your fucking ass, you know, on your show, on our show, it doesn't matter. Call me back. In fact, anyone on the show, call me. 410-978-8824.
That's what we do it in Baltimore, motherfucker! Be more! Welcome to What's Really Going On. I'm layperson Graham. This is Dr. Greenfield.
Good to be back on the show, Graham.
Great to have you back. What are you going to talk to us about tonight?
Tonight I'm going to talk about abiogenesis, which is the synthesis of organic compounds, or the creation of life from inorganic compounds, inner non-living matter.
All right, now I believe in soul. I believe in a culture of life. And vitality.
That's good for you, Graham. You remember the intellectual kids table I mentioned last episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can never take the soul away from you, Graham.
Oh, that's such a relief. So like, how does
sure it is.
How does my soul, you know, correspond to abiogenesis as a theory?
Well, actually, belief in a soul was it's somewhat similar to a doctrine that was pretty popular in biology up until around the 19th century. So it's called vitalism, which is the idea that there's something that separates living organisms from inorganic matter. That there's not just a gradient or kind of a sliding scale. You know, obviously, inorganic matter doesn't move, but there's something metaphysically different. You know, something like a soul that can't be taken away or removed.
Okay, so you said it was commonly accepted. How was vitalism disproven?
Well, just the empirical evidence, ultimately. That the first serious blow came in 1828 with the biochemist Friedrich Wöhler synthesized urea from an inorganic compound. I believe it was ammonium cyanate, but I'm not sure about that. So anyway, that was somewhat controversial because he got the sample from the inorganic compound came from a living organism. So there's questions about its purity, but other scientists conducted additional experiments and obtained similar results. So that's really when organic chemistry got off the ground as a separate field.
Okay, so were there any other key discoveries, key players that kind of put nails in vitalism's,
Yeah, I mean all of modern biology basically, but even before, to go back to talking about a little bit before Wöhler's experiments, you had Lavoisier, the founder of modern chemistry, and Laplace, a mathematician. They conducted an experiment where they took a guinea pig and measured they had the idea that essentially kind of cellular metabolism was, and they were right about this, was akin to combustion. So they measured the amount of heat and carbon dioxide being released from this guinea pig, and then they found that it corresponded to the amount of heat released when you burned an amount of carbon, that the amount of carbon necessary to release an amount of carbon dioxide equal to the amount released by the guinea pig.
So there was a correspondence between the two values that was striking.
Yeah. So the significance of that is just that you have something going on that's at least somewhat comparable to a process that isn't organic.
Completely inorganic.
There's a comparison there.
So why isn't abiogenesis occurring today?
Abiogenesis doesn't occur today because the atmospheric conditions of the early Earth are different from those of the present Earth. So the early Earth had what was known as a reducing atmosphere. So essentially what that means is it just added energy to chemical processes occurring. The current Earth has an oxidizing atmosphere, so it takes energy away from chemical processes. And why that shift occurred was the arising of photosynthetic bacteria. They release a lot of oxygen. Oxygen oxidizes things. So
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Anyway, so since the chemical conditions were so different, that's why it has to be reproduced in a laboratory setting. Like I've heard of what's known as the Miller-Urey experiment. Perhaps is that is that kind of a big deal?
That's the classic experiment conducted in 1953. So Miller and Urey took what they believed then to be chemical compounds that were kind of like the atmosphere of early Earth. I mean, scientists now think it's a little bit different, but what they did was they took like methane, they took ammonia, and took carbon monoxide in high concentrations. They put them in a flask, a large flask, and then beneath that flask had a smaller flask. And within the smaller flask, they had water that was being heated. Mm-hmm. So water vapor was running through this flask and into the flask above it. And then above that, there was a tube that was cooled. So then this vapor would go up and condense there.
Okay.
And so to represent kind of the lightning that would be present on the early Earth, there was also electricity being run through the large flask. So after about 6 days or so, they analyzed the chemical compounds in the condensate from the tube. And from their first experiment, they found 6 of the 20 amino acids found in proteins.
And did they go on to do further experiments?
Yes. They ran a bunch of different experiments under a number of different conditions. And for instance, they did the experiment with exposure to ultraviolet. If they replaced ammonia with nitrogen, they got lower concentrations or lower yields, but they got a bigger diversity of products. Ultimately, they were able to get 17 of the 20 amino acids.
Wow.
So I don't know if the other 3 have been produced within the laboratory.
But I mean, they probably could be. I mean, that's the general consensus.
Right. Sure.
Alright.
I mean, there's certainly some basis for that.
Alright, so as of right now, from what you told us, we have the amino acids kind of, on lockdown. We have them dialed in. And I guess it kind of brings us to the end of our allotted time. And by the end of this entire segment, we will tell you how to grow a baby in a tube.
I don't know about that, Graham.
Beast of the Week. The beast this week is James Randi. First he was a magician, and then he spent all his time exposing faith healers, general charlatans, and now he has the $1 Million Randi Challenge, which is a challenge to anybody who has any evidence of paranormal or supernatural activity. Surprise, surprise, nobody's won. And all the psychics, the media psychics who have taken up his challenge have not actually shown up to do it. James Randi, beast of the fucking week.